What's up, guys? This is Sean and you are watching the iherng podcast. Today we will be answering a question from email. This is from Anonymous. Hi Sean, I've been watching your videos for about a year now and you taught me a lot about property. Thank you. Before we go further, you can find my financial status below. Husband and wife, married with no kids, both 26. Annual income 86,000 and 60,000. So in total it's 150,000. Emergency saving 30,000. Cars already paid. Old car, so no loan or monthly installment. Rental paid is 1,003. Invested money is in stocks, crypto around 5,000 ringgit. Credit card a few, so they pay monthly and no interest fees. Personal loan nil. Any other loan? I bought a washing machine and a fridge. We total up 12,000 ringgit. I bought it using EPP for 2 years, so the installment is around 480 per month, and I've been paying for 6 months already. EPF, I just assume I don't have any money in EPF, so that I won't be using that money and saving it for retirement. My wife has her own savings too, but I didn't include that. She also contributes to pay some of the bills, so that's a plus for me. Ha 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 ha. I live in a condo in Cyberjaya and my rent is 1,003 for 3 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms and 2 car park. I like to live here as the community and facilities are great. I've been planning to buy a unit and stay for about 5 to 6 years. After that, I plan to buy a landed house and rent out the condo, but is it a good idea? Or is there a better way to make out of this? I know you always say it's better to buy first property for investment, not for own stay. Ha ha ha. There's also an option to buy with cash back or like with no down payment. I kind of like that because I don't think I am ready enough to pay big lump sum of money this year or next year. Come to think of it, I just knew that I can't take out my EPF account too or pay for down payment renovation. If so, is that a good idea? Also, there's also one reason actually. Planning to have my first child in 1 to 2 years time, so need to get my money ready for that too. The price of the condo I wanted to buy is around 280 to 300,000, and I do think that this will be a great investment with its great location and facilities and also management. Even though people saying that Cyberjaya is kind of a failed city by the government, nevertheless, I still think that Cyberjaya has potential for investment. If you were me, in my situation with current financials, what would you do to make the best decision out of this? Go with my original plan or focus more on buying property for investment and renting with the current unit? Thank you for taking your time reading this, Sean. Keep up the great video. For your new viewers out there, don't forget to subscribe and hit the like button. You do the promotion for me some more. Kindest regards, Anonymous. So thank you so much, Anonymous, for reaching out, right? I really appreciate it. And let's head straight to it, right? So 86,000 is divided by 12 is around 7,000 a month. So the wife is around 5,000 a month. So it's around 12,000 a month. Joint income. Currently no property at all. Both still very young. So you guys can qualify for 35 years loan easily. What I really like looking at all the things that you sent to me, you guys are on the right track. So you guys are married, right? At 26, so you guys are actually preparing to have the first kid in 2 years' time. Just about right. Congratulations. Hope everything is smooth. And with 12,000 income, then you guys are thinking whether to buy an investment unit first or to buy a home to live in. So which one is actually better? To me, why not do both? Right, like I always do. So looking at the layout of the email you sent to me, right, you are very meticulous with your money. So you even know how much you're paying for your washing machine and fridge. You know how much is your credit card being used. You know that it's to build credit score. So that's great. So a tip for fresh grads, right, get a credit card, use it to pay petrol and groceries and pay up every single month to build credit score. So a lot of people will always think that, hey, as long as I got money, right, the bank will loan me money to buy property. Not really. Okay, so fresh grads, use this tip. Very good. It's also music to my ears when you say you got no car loan, you are driving old cars. But there's this difference that I mentioned with one of the audience earlier. There's a difference between being frugal and being cost efficient. Okay, so old cars are fine until they starts breaking down. Right? Old cars are fine until the maintenance fees starts going up, where it starts giving you inconvenience. So there are levels to the frugality. If you want to really, really save hardcore money, right? A lot of people might as well just take the bus, or you just take the train or public transport. But the setback to that is you do not dictate your own time. When people say, hey, I'll see you at 2 o'clock, right? You need to really hope that the public transport is on time, the traffic congestion is okay, so you can reach on time, and it's just so tiring to transit from one mode of transportation to another. It will be easier to just grab, but that also it becomes very expensive. So in comparison to a car, right? So a car does cost more money, but it actually saves more time and effort, and you get to hustle harder during the non-operating hours of the public transport. Then there's a level to that. Compared to an old car to a new car, then you will have the service to think about, you have the maintenance to think about. Ultimately, it's the reliability. When I need the car to move from point A to point B, I know I can depend on it. That is a very important factor. So an old car compared to a new car, that's the balance where you can really think about, especially when a kid is going to come. So what's the worst case is when you are driving your kid around, suddenly the car breaks down in the center of the road. Right? So the least I expect of a car is reliability. Then this is the part where I don't encourage the range between a new car to a fabulous car, where it's like a Myvi to a Mercedes-Benz, right? So that's the range. Both of them functions the same, just that it carries different intention of owning it already. So some are to flash, some are to use to market to people, to tell people they are rich, so join their team. Some they call it reliability, but to me, not really. Like my mother-in-law's car also, this kind of brand, but always break down. Like they drive back, I think within 6 months, break down several times a year, right? And the main reason I'm saying it is because you guys are planning for a new baby. So when the baby is on board, right, your entire considerations for things all change. Trust me. Anyway, coming back to Cyberjaya, which is the location that you're staying right now. Cyberjaya is this very weird phenomenon where everything seems to be in place. So now you got the train station into Cyberjaya already, and if you look into the planning of the entire city, highways are all done, infrastructures are all done, just that it wouldn't boom. Don't know why. And if you're familiar with the auction property market, a lot of stocks actually comes from Cyberjaya. But the weird thing is, after doing a lot of research on my own, the high-rise market and the landed properties market are different. The landed properties in Cyberjaya are selling tremendously well, and they are not cheap. That includes Putrajaya as well. So Putrajaya properties are also very, very expensive. A lot of people think that it's so far, right, from KL, nobody wants one. No, you are so wrong. The only weird thing here is still Cyberjaya's high-rise apartments. And many may think that it's because of the density. Not really. So there are way more elements to a place. There are way more elements to town planning and things like that. So should you buy or should you rent at 1,003 for a 3-bedroom apartment? So as we have discussed throughout the channel before, the best way is to rent where we stay and to buy where we invest. Why a lot of property investors choose to rent? Because they want to save up their DSR slots as well as the 90% loan slots to use up wisely, maximize those first before getting their own home. So while renting, I can still rent the same apartment, but I buy another one to rent it out. At least I get 90% and I can get the loan to finance it. Then use the rental collected, prove it as income to the bank to get the second one almost immediately. So that's the game plan. So the part where renting where you stay, that's based on flexibility. Especially when you are single, especially when you have no children yet, that makes more sense actually. A lot of people are urgent to set up a family home, and most of the time they locked up all their slots within one property, right? Newlyweds, right? Always before you get married, 24, 25, you get a house that is borderline your affordability, and you guys join loan to get that dream home, but you die want a landed, so you get it at a location that is further away from the city center. Then when you work, you go to Jalan Tun Razak for reporting every day, and the drive there becomes miserable. All goes back to your parents' house and stay, leaving the landed property there to rot because it's further away from the city. You can't get rent, and because it's your dream home, supposedly you did renovation on it, but you don't want to stay in it, but you don't want to rent it out as well because you worry that it might be damaged by your tenants. And after you collect rental, usually for landed properties, the rent cannot cover the installment because of the high price. So it's a vicious cycle. Then you lock up all your slots for investment, you lose out on opportunity cost as well looking at the property. And when people say property prices will go up, it really depends. So there are a lot of properties of such which is the landed properties away from the city, not doing very, very well, you don't get to sell because some of them actually lose money. You cannot rent it out because you worry it get damaged. This is the term where we call the bank's slave lah, where you're just paying money for a home that you don't use while still staying with the parents, or rent a place with the city center. Because ultimately, we all will prefer convenience all the time. Driving half an hour to work compared to drive 2 hours to work is a lot of difference when you do that almost every single day. Then the next thing to think about is the temporary demand of space of a particular location. So for example, if your example now is in Mont Kiara, I would suggest you to buy instantly, provided you can afford lah, of course. Because the demand for space there is just very, very high all the time, proven throughout the years all this while. So when you buy already, you stay there, when the baby comes out, the family can move somewhere else and you can rent out the unit pretty easily. But in Cyberjaya, you compare the rental price versus the selling price. That will be the gauge that I will really look at, because if the property, let's say, is 800,000, but the rental is only 1,003, does it make more sense to rent or to buy? Of course, rent ma. And the rent can be so low because the temporary demand for space for that particular location, which is Cyberjaya, is not as high as Mont Kiara. Then you also mentioned that you want to buy a landed property later after the high rise, right? So you can rent out the high rise later. Again, it then depends. It means that the first property will actually be an investment unit. Also, you mentioned that in the email, right? You want to buy an apartment first to rent out, stay there, then after that, few years later, you rent out while you upgrade into a landed property, and that's the game plan lah. But to me, if that's the scenario that you want to do, right, I would strongly suggest to not get a high rise in Cyberjaya first. Two very important data points to look at. Number one will be the latest transacted price of apartments around the location that you're going to buy. The second thing will be the surrounding rental rates. And after you look at these two data points, right, then it's pretty clear whether do you rent or do you buy the particular property. I would always suggest to buy in KL city centre, such as like Dutamas lah, Mont Kiara lah, Ambang lah, KLCC lah, not KLCC lah, but Cheras lah. Even PJ now is getting pretty hot lately. But anyway, my point is to always look into these two data points to determine whether is this a good property for investment or not. Yes, I know you like Cyberjaya a lot, you like the lifestyle there a lot, but you guys are still single, right? You have no commitment. Technically, you can live anywhere. And since the rent is low, this is what I will do. I will continue renting, right? Because it's 1,003 per month. That's pretty comfortable for a 3-bedroom apartment. Get an investment unit within KL city centre. Then you look into the rental rates, whether can it cover the installment or not. Use that as the gauge for your investment property. Then think about whether you want a new property or you want a sub-sale. Sub-sale, like you say, you may not have enough capital to put up front. Then you can always go for new properties. But new properties, then you got to think that they are already charging future price, unless you want to go bulk purchase route or you want to go auction market route, or you have a special connection via family or friends or whatsoever lah. After doing that, renting out already, then when you guys are preparing for the baby, then I think it's still okay to stay in the rental house. There's no need to immediately move to a big landed house once the baby is out. Like, based on personal experience, I don't think a landed house is that friendly in terms of bringing up a baby. So baby is like just come out like 0 to 6 months time lah. Like when you guys are sleeping in the principal bedroom upstairs, when the baby is crying, you need to prepare milk, right? You need to go downstairs to the kitchen. Then when you go downstairs, if you are alone at home, do you bring the baby down, but the baby is actually still sleeping or crying, up, down, then there's a lot of guards to... A high-rise then will be way more convenient because it's just a very small space to manage. So we actually moved out from a landed to a high-rise, and to realize that, hey, the baby actually don't need a lot of space. And to them, it doesn't matter one. The only difference is when we transport the baby out from the car to the house and vice versa. That's why I emphasize a lot on car parks lobby or the car park lift lobby a lot these days, because of experience. Like, I need to carry my kid when he's asleep, right? You need to carry him. Then there's so many fire doors to open the lift. Then is it magnetic? Then when car pass by, is it dangerous? Then if my kid runs out from the lobby, is it safe? All this kind of thing lah. Well, you also spoke about the usage of funds within the EPF account. So for those who are not familiar, EPF account is divided into account 1 and account 2, and basically we can use only account 2 for most of the investment assets, except if you invest in some mutual fund, they allow you to tap into account 1. That's a whole separate story altogether. But in EPF, right, a lot do not know the beauty of it. Like if you buy a first property already, you have the SPA, right? You can bring into EPF and say that you want to withdraw out everything in account 2 up to 10% of the SPA price. Let's say if I buy a 300,000 property, 300,000, I can withdraw up to 10%, which is 30,000. If my EPF only got 20,000, I can take entirely 20,000 of it. You can also opt for other payments to bank into your loan account directly. For example, now you have 20,000, right? And your money installment is like 1,000. And this is where you can do the setting where from EPF directly, you can pay into the housing loan account. So of course, it cannot go to your personal account and then you will take the money and spend. So what's the point, right? But you can straight away use that to help ease any housing loan situation. So this is how you use the EPF money. For renovation, then I have not heard of any, but you can take the upfront payment, which is the 10% of the SPA just now, to use it as a renovation fund. But there's no specific renovation loan lah. No such thing yet in Malaysia. If also got, it's just a repackaged personal loan format where the interest is extremely high. I don't know who will actually take it. So if any of you have actually free time, do browse through KWSP to find out how to actually maximize the EPF that we contribute every single month. So make full use of it. So in conclusion, although the front part is all around the place, right, I would suggest to stick to the original plan, which is to get an investment unit first. Like you guys are still young at 26, right? Let's say 2 more years can do a lot of things. So get an investment unit first. Since you guys have pretty decent income and you guys are pretty prudent with your savings, pretty prudent with your spending, get that out first. And this is where it's important. If you have money, I would strongly suggest to go for sub-sale because everything is calculated. There's a lot of certainty in the sub-sale deal. You know everything from build quality, rental rates, orientation, views, the neighbors, transacted price, rental rates, everything can be calculated. Then it's a decision whether to buy or not. It's a well-informed decision. If you don't have money, then go for a new property. Then the channel of buying the new property then becomes the differentiating factor of getting a deal or not. After you do that, 2 years, 3 years time, you get the unit rented out, then you declare that as an income to somewhat support your DSR further for the next property. And will that be your home or another investment property? It really depends on the first, right? If the first makes a lot of money, you have very good experience, then you will buy the second one as an investment too and continue renting like me. But it's absolutely okay if you choose to want to provide more to the family. Now, you know what, Sean? It's time to actually give the family more space. I will just strap myself and buy a landed property. Once you buy the landed property, then the entire commitment level will be different because now I think any new properties around KL City Centre is already surpassed 1 million. Like I just came back from Elmina Green and the latest launch is already 1.02 million. Of course, within a city centre, there are a lot of sub-sale ones, but then it needs to consider along with the renovation fee, the repair fee, and a lot of other japlang fees lah. That would be my suggestion, which is to stick to your initial plan. And I guess that's all for this episode. It's a pretty direct one. Points to take home is I will not buy a Cyberjaya apartment right now, at least. Right? With the selling price of those, I can have any other apartments within the city centre that generates higher ROI and better potential for capital appreciation compared to Cyberjaya. But the landeds are awesome. That's why they always sell out. Until now, I still don't know why. And that's the best part about Malaysia's real estate. And with that, thank you very much again for sending in the email. And for those who still have any questions regarding real estate, do just email me at taniherng@gmail.com, or you can just DM me on Instagram, iherng, and I'll see you on the next one. Ciao.